Hello, my friends. So in this tutorial, we're going to learn how to draw the ProCreate logo. So this was a request by one of my students. So this is just like a fun thing you can do if this is something you want to learn how to draw. So I'm going to go through this a bit faster than I normally do in class. So you can just pause the video if you're still drawing or rewind it if you need the steps repeated. So the first thing we're going to do is set up our canvas. So we're going to go to the plus sign in the upper right hand corner in our gallery, and then we're going to select this little black box to start a new canvas. So if you already have an 8.5 by 11 inch size on your menu here, you can just pick that one out, or you can just set it up with me as a new thing here. So you're gonna hit the black box. Remember to change your units to inches. This is a really important step, because if you don't do that, when you bring in the ProCreate app to work with, it's going to be really pixelated. Please make sure you select inches. So we're going to set this to a regular size piece of paper. So the first number is 8.5. The second number is 11. So 8.5 for the width, 11 for the height, and 300 for the DPI. And don't worry about maximum layers. That's different for everybody's iPad. So as long as you have 8.5, 11, and 300, and you're set to inches at the bottom, that's all you need, and you can hit the big orange button. So when you hit create, it's going to create a new page for you, and this is already set up the perfect size for printing. So if you're printing, this makes it really nice and easy. So once we have our canvas, we're going to bring in a picture of the ProCreate logo that we're going to work with. So to bring in any picture, you're going to go to the little wrench at the upper left-hand corner. You're going to make sure add is the option selected from the top menu, and you're looking for insert a photo. So insert a photo is the option that we want, and that will take you to your Photos app, and that's where you can pick out the picture of the ProCreate app. So this will be included in the classroom with this video. So you just need to download it or screenshot it so that it's in your Photos app, and then you can pick that out. Awesome. So that ends up on our canvas. Obviously that's too small. So we're going to use the little blue dots here to expand it. And just make sure you're on free form when you're expanding. Otherwise, on uniform, because if you're on this option, you might be warping it, which is something we don't want to do. So just make sure you're on uniform anytime that you're expanding things. And then you can also use a 2-finger zoom. I find sometimes that works better. You can also rotate it, but we want it kind of nice and straight like that. So yeah, make it so that it's nice and big. And now we're ready to start drawing. So we want to fade this out so we can really see what we're doing. We're just going to use the original one as sort of a guide. So let's go to layers, and we're going to find the layer with our ProCreate logo, and we're looking for this little N here next to the layer. That's going to allow us to turn the opacity down, or like how faded it is. So you can see the further I go to the left here with this slider, the more faded it's going to be. So with this one, I think I'm going to go with maybe like a 19-20%. Doesn't really matter. Somewhere around that ballpark is good. And that allows us to kind of draw on top and still be able to see what we're doing. Awesome. So once you have your reference image turned down, you're going to start a brand new layer. So the button for the new layers is this plus sign. So tap on that and you'll get layer 2, a nice fresh layer to work on. So it's really important that you start this layer, otherwise you'll accidentally draw on the reference image, which is something that's very hard to undo. So just double, triple check that you have a layer 2 and that it's highlighted in blue before you leave this menu. Awesome. So next we're going to pick out a brush. So we're going to go to the brushes here, and I always use the same brush. So I'm looking for my studio pen here. So you're going to go to inking on the left, and then you're just going to scroll all the way down the list here, and you're looking for the studio pen, which is somewhere near the top. And we want to turn something on called streamlining, and that will really help us get nice smooth lines. It's going to be really hard to draw that without streamlining turned on. So once you've found your studio pen, tap on the studio pen, and that's where you can change the characteristics of your brush. And we're going to find this option called streamline, and usually it's set down here. We're going to turn it all the way up to maximum. So if you've taken a class with me before, yours might already be turned up to maximum, but just double check because that will make this project so much easier. So once you have streamlining turned up, you can hit done in the upper right-hand corner, and now we can start drawing. So now we just need a nice dark color to draw with. So we're going to tap on our color circle here to get the color wheel. You might be on a different option. There's a whole bunch of them down here. Make sure you're on the disc. And then you're just picking out a dark color to work with. So if you move this little, I call it a bauble, I don't think that's the right word for it, but if you move it all the way down, that will allow you to pick out a black color. Awesome. So now we're almost ready to start drawing. We want a really, really thin line. So let's try 3%. So we're going to set the top slider to 3%. Somewhere in that ballpark, can be slightly different. And then the bottom slider should be turned all the way up. And now we're ready to start drawing. So when you're drawing an arc like this, you really want to move your canvas around, get really nice and close so that when you're drawing the arc, it kind of follows the natural flow of your wrist. You don't want to be drawing in an awkward angle when you're trying to get like a smooth line like this. So with this really thin line, you can probably barely see it. You're going to do your best to create a nice smooth line. You can go really slow. You can get really in there and just do it a small section at a time. I sometimes find that's easier. And we're just copying the outside. So you see, I rotate like crazy when I'm drawing. We're just going around, and make sure that all of your lines meet up. There shouldn't be any gaps. So if you have a gap like this, the color is going to spill out. We don't want that. So just make sure you take the time to close all of this up. So this would be a good time to pause the video and take your time drawing. So we're going to do all the lines. So we're not only going to do the outside, we're also going to get in and get all of these inside lines as well. And I'm going ridiculously quickly here. When you're doing yours, you can definitely take more time with it. And the steps for this project are super important. If you miss the way that we're setting up our layers or the way that we're coloring things, it'll make it really difficult for you. So after we're done doing the outline, we're going to really take our time to draw this in or paint this in a way that will help us achieve these nice colors and gradients. But it's really important to get all the steps. So that's kind of what we're looking for, just a nice outline of that original image. And now we're ready to do some coloring. So what I like to do at this point is open up my reference image so that I can get rid of this background, but also be able to see the colors and see what I'm up to. So there's this really great feature in ProCreate called what is it called? It's just called reference. So what you're going to do is go to the wrench icon in the upper left-hand corner, select canvas from the top menu here, and then you're looking for this option here called reference. So when you tap on that, you'll get this great little window that you can move around. And the idea is that you would load the picture that you're trying to create. So you're actually going to go to image at the bottom here, and then you can tap and import from your Photos app. So that opens up your Photos app. You can find your ProCreate image like that, and now you can see what you're doing, but it's out of the way so that it's not messing up your drawing. Awesome. So once you have your reference image, you can actually get rid of this background. So we're going to open up layers, find layer 1 and use the little checkbox to get rid of it. And so now it's just this nice clean line that we're going to play around with. So what we're going to do here is we're going to turn on referencing so that we're not coloring on our outline directly. We're going to be able to use another layer for our colors. So tap on layer 2 with your outline to get this menu. And then you're looking for this option here called reference. So when you tap on it, you'll know that it's turned on because it says reference under layer 2. So just make sure that your layers look like mine. And then we're going to start a brand new layer, and that's where the color is going to go. It actually doesn't matter the order of your layers at this point, so wherever that new layer ended up, layer 3, just leave that alone. And we're actually going to start a new layer for each one of these sections. So this is going to have its own layer, this middle part, that's going to have its own layer, every little part is going to have its own layer. So what I like to do is find the color that's kind of the medium tone, because it's like, it goes from purple to yellow basically. So what you can do is hold your finger down right in the middle. It might be kind of hard to see, but you can actually pick up colors from this little reference window, and you want a color that kind of represents the middle tone here. So it might be kind of hard to find, but yeah, for me, it's like this purpley color. So once I have the middle tone, so something actually probably more, yeah, that's probably more in the middle. It's like this kind of pink. So once you have that color, you're going to just drop it in like this. And that is going to be one layer. And we're actually going to start a new layer for the other segment here. So we're going to go to layers, start a brand new layer. And now we're going to work on, let's do this part right there. So we're going to pick up this purple color. Awesome. So we can fill that in. And then we're going to work on this segment here, which is kind of like a turquoisey, goes from green to blue. So we're going to pick up a color and then start a new layer and then drop that in. So you can see in your layers, each segment here has its own layer, and that's going to really help us with getting the nice gradients. So you're just going to keep going like that. So start a new layer. Next, we're working on this section here. So it's kind of like a reddish yellow color. So put that in. Right now it looks really ugly, but I promise it's going to get nicer. And then the last segment, brand new layer. And then this one is more of like an orange to yellow. Awesome. Doesn't have to be perfect. We're going to mess around with this, but this is kind of what you're going for. So you can see we have a separate layer for each one of our colors, and that's kind of what it should look like. So I have 7 layers at this point, and when you look at your layers, it should be very similar. So the first part that I want to work on is this middle part. I think that's probably the easiest. So open up layers and find that middle part. So for me, it's layer 3, and it should be the same for you. So you're probably on the last layer that you worked on. Just tap on layer 3, and that's the part that we're going to work on. Awesome. Now, what we want is to only be able to draw on that color. So we need to turn alpha lock on. So tap on layer 3 and find this option here called alpha lock. And when you turn it on, you'll know that you have successfully turned it on because it will have this checkerboard background. And there's actually another way to turn alpha lock on. If you swipe right on the layer with 2 fingers, you can turn it on and off. So that's just a different way to do it. We're going to be using alpha lock a lot. You can actually turn it on all the layers at this point. Might be easier for you. And then just make sure you're on layer 3 before you exit out of here, because that's the layer that we want to draw on. Awesome. So if you're not sure what alpha lock does, I'm going to just show it to you in a second here. But we want to pick out, so we had been picking out the middle color. Now we want to get the 2 ends. So I'm going to pick out this purple color that's kind of more at the top. And we're going to color in this little swoosh here. Now, because we have alpha lock turned on, if you draw, so I'm actually going to turn it up a little bit, it will only allow you to color in the layer that is selected. So it's not going to let me color on the background, anywhere else. It's only going to let me color the part that has the alpha lock turned on. So this is helpful in so many different ways. But this is a great project for learning how to use alpha lock. So we got that part of it colored in with this like darker, actually, you know what? I don't like that purple. I think I might have grabbed the wrong one. I think this is a better representation actually of the color. And you don't have to go with the colors in the original. If you want to get crazy with it, you can pick out your own colors now that we have all the shapes. And then the bottom of this swish is like this light pale yellow. So I'm going to grab that and then color this part in. So now I have the two, each end covered. So we have the end, the tip, and then the middle. So once you have your colors colored in, maybe pause the video if you're still working on grabbing and coloring things in. And then the next step is going to be to blur them really nicely. Awesome. So once you have those colors in place, now we're going to blur. So because you have alpha lock on, it's only going to allow it to blur within the confines of the shape. So to blur, you're going to go to the magic wand here, and you're looking for Gaussian blur. So select that and then select layer. So nothing will happen when you first select it. You have to put your pen down and move it from left to right. And you can see this beautiful gradient that forms. And you can actually do it multiple times. So you can start from left to right and just keep going over and over again. You can also take it too far. It starts to get a little bit weird. So just find that point where you kind of like it. You can also exit out of here and add more color to it and keep going. So if you feel like doesn't look like the original, you can go in and you can add some other little colors here and then just go back to Gaussian blur and do another pass at it. So you can get as specific, or I'm not specific, but like you can add in as many colors and keep doing this as many times as it takes for you to be happy with it, basically. Awesome. So that covers the middle segment. Now let's do this one here, the blue one. So you just have to find it. So it's pretty easy because you can just match it up with the color. So that blue is layer 5 for me. So I'm going to switch to that. I already have alpha lock turned on, but if you don't, make sure you turn it on before you start doing anything, and you'll know it's turned on by the checkerboard background. Awesome. So now we need that like nice green here. I'm sorry that you can't really see. It's hard to get your finger out of the way when you're awesome. There we go. So that's kind of like that green. And now you'll see it only allows me to draw on the blue part. It's no longer allowing me to draw on here. And then has kind of like a darker blue. And you can zoom in also on this reference picture. So if you're not really getting the colors you want, you're a bit frustrated, just zoom in on it and that will really help. Actually, I think I messed up my lines here, but that's okay. I'm going to have a slightly different version of the logo. You can see that line kind of goes down, but mine is doing something different. I'm not sure how I ended up with that. Awesome. So once you have the colors on either end in place, you're going to go to the magic wand, go to Gaussian blur, select layer. It's always the same, Gaussian blur, layer, and then swipe your brush from left to right. Awesome. Okay, so now we're moving on to this purple. So to find the purple, you just go into layers. For me, that's layer 4. I can see that it's purple. I'm going to make sure alpha lock is turned on, which it is for me. And now I'm ready to go. So with this one, it looks like it's just a different color at the tip. Actually, maybe it does have 2 colors. So I'm going to get this dark purple, get that in. You can also change like the direction that you're doing. It doesn't have to be a straight line. Get a bit of that blue here and then start blurring. And you get really fast at this. Awesome. Then I'm going to move on to the yellow portion. So that's this here. I'm going to switch out to layer 7. It's my yellow. Make sure that alpha lock is on. And then I'm going to pick up this nice dark purple here. Oh, sorry. don't get my colors today. It's an orange, obviously. So I'm going to do my orange. That's probably actually a bit too much. And then it looks like it has just like maybe a lighter yellow here. Oh no, that's not the color I wanted. Awesome. So you pick up a bit of lighter yellow, and then again, you want to go to the magic wand, Gaussian blur layer, smudging that in. And see, this is when I might want to actually add a little bit more. So I feel like that's too blended now. So I can just go back, add a little bit more yellow, and do a second pass at the blur. So really take your time with it, compare it to the original, and if you don't love it, just keep working on it. You can really spend your time to make this nice. And then I'm going to do this last kind of darker pink, so let's find that in our layers. So that's layer 6 here. Make sure alpha lock is on. We're going to pick up this dark cherry red, I would call that, and that goes something like this. And then it's got more of like a coral, a pinkish yellow here, peach maybe, call that peach. And then, so you can put in as many colors as you want. If you feel like there's not just 2 colors or 3 colors going on, you can really create some really interesting gradients. Gradients are really fun. Like you can do so many different colors here. And then that's the last one. So this is gonna be really satisfying to smudge that one. So we're gonna go to the magic wand, go to Gaussian blur layer, do a little smudgeroo. Awesome. So that's already looking really, really nice. And now let's turn on a black background so that we can really see it in its full glory. So what we're going to do is open up layers, come down here to your background color, and change your background to a black. So just by taking your bauble and moving it down, you can see it looks really, really nice now. It looks a lot like the original ProCreate logo. But if you zoom in, you can see that even though our lines are really thin, you can still see them here. So there's actually a trick to getting rid of it, and it involves alpha lock. So let's go into layers and find the layer with our outline. So that's layer 2, and we're actually going to turn alpha lock on. So you can do the 2-finger swipe to the right, or you can just tap on layer 2 to get the menu and select alpha lock. And just to be safe, let's turn off the reference layer. The reference layer is really, really helpful, but sometimes it can create weird glitches or weird things when you're working on things and you're not really coloring in anymore. So just turn that off. So it should just be the alpha lock on there. And now we can color in our lines individually. So I think this is probably the best part to show you. So what I'll do is I want this line to be more like the pink that this main swoosh is. So I'm going to just pick out a color next to it, and I'm going to start coloring over that line. And you might have to pick up the color as you go because, right, it's a gradient, so it's changing. So you can get either really detailed with this, or you can kind of just, you know, do your best. And you can see you can paint over these lines really, really easily. That's the beauty of alpha lock. And as you learn more about alpha lock, you will find more and more things you can use it for. Endless opportunities there. So yeah, you're just going to fill that in. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's already better than just having those black lines there. So just hold your finger down to get that color. Awesome. And then do the same. You kind of have to decide whether you're going to make it this orange color or this pink color. I find whatever is easier for you. You can also turn it down so you have a little bit more control. And it's really when you get to the edges that you have to be careful. And then don't forget the outside. Awesome. Look how much better that looks without the black line. See, I told you I swirl it around a lot. So now I'm going to pick up this dark purple color just to finish this outline here. Beautiful. Some bit of the blue. And the line is so thin, that's why I was saying to use a really thin line, that even if the color is not perfect, it still looks really, really nice. Awesome. And there you go. There's your ProCreate logo. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you'd like to upload your finished picture to OutSchool and share with the class, I would really love that. I love seeing what you guys come up with. I love seeing when you guys mess around with it and make it your own. Oh, actually, you know what? It's actually upside down. It should be like this. And you can use this for so many different things. So I'd love to see what you take this tutorial and make out of it. Awesome, my friends. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you next class. Bye.